All right, so it just dawned on me that I never did an update on the sleep study that I did about a month ago. And I figured I would do that today and tell you a little bit about the process and, you know, what happened to me and the results and all that goes with it. So I went in for the sleep study. You come in about, 8 o'clock at night and basically get ready for bed. They want you to go to sleep around 10 p.m. So you get in there at 8. They hook up all these like diodes like all over you. And I think the worst is on your head. So they use this really thick, like gelatinous goo, and they stick these wires all over your head. And like there's this big clumps of like big like globs of this like glue type stuff in your hair. But it's still all gooey. It doesn't harden at all. So and it has to be a lot to hold these little wires in there while you're sleeping and stuff so they don't pull out. And man, there must be at least 10 to 15 of these attached to the sides and back of your head. I think even more. But then they also put different diodes all over. So you got some on your chest, your rib cage, you've got some on your legs, and then you also put a chest strap on, which I think would monitor your heart. And man, so it's a lot of stuff, and you're just like hooked up to all these things, and you're expected to sleep. And now that's one problem that I had with it. It's like how they're so worried about it being like a repeatable thing, so that when you do a study, it needs to be something repeatable. It needs to be something that's the same across the board. The only problem with that is sleeping in a place that's not your own bed, not your own home, with a bunch of stuff hooked up to you. I feel like you're never going to sleep even close to how you normally sleep. So I feel like it's already kind of messed up. But anyway, let's see. On top of that, you are also being recorded by a camera, which is in the ceiling, watching you the entire night. And that in itself is another thing. Like knowing you're being watched makes it harder to sleep, right? Wouldn't it? So, and once you're hooked up to this stuff, you can't really go to the bathroom. So you got to do all that stuff beforehand. Once you lay down to go to sleep, if you have to go to the bathroom, you have to call out to them. Also, you're also, there's microphones in the room so they can hear you throughout the night, right? So if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, which I did not, thankfully, you would just call out like, hey, I need to go to the bathroom. They have to come in, unhook all this stuff from you so that you can go to the bathroom and then fix it all. But yeah, so I actually slept pretty well. They have you not drink any caffeine the entire day of, and that was difficult in itself for me because I drink a lot of caffeine. But I slept pretty well considering all of that stuff. But in the morning, basically they told me that, listen, there was some what do they call it, events, right, throughout the night, but not of any concern, not so much that we'd be concerned that you have sleep apnea. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep you around, and I knew this was a possibility, they told me beforehand. We're going to keep you around for the daytime sleep study, which is basically to test for narcolepsy. Now this was the worst part. This was the worst part of the entire thing. So if you don't have to have this done, you get to go home at like 6, 7 a.m. when they wake you up. You wake up, you get unhooked from everything, you go home. But if they keep you around for a daytime sleep study, it's pretty cool at first, but it quickly becomes not very fun at all. So you start out, the idea of this study is they do a series of naps throughout the day. They're testing how quickly you fall asleep and if you get into REM sleep, and if you do, how quickly. You shouldn't really get into REM sleep when you're taking a 30-minute nap. So that is how they test for narcolepsy, to see how, if you're going into such a deep sleep like immediately, that's not good. Okay, so the first couple naps, they do it every 2 hours, right? And they give you breakfast and stuff like that, which I'm sure they charge you way more than that breakfast is worth. I think they had Bob Evans for both breakfast and lunch for me. But you're basically there all day. And every 2 hours, you're laying down and attempting to take a nap. Still hooked up to all this stuff from the night before. So, first nap, it was fine. It was fine. I think I did fall asleep, but it took me a little bit. But when I woke up from that, I was really tired, for the 2 hour break in between naps. And so by the next nap, I was ready to go to sleep. And I fell asleep like instantly. Like I was keeping myself awake in between these naps. But then after that, I must have gotten a quality nap in, because after that, the rest of them, I had no trouble. I wasn't nodding off throughout the day. I wasn't tired. But I did fall asleep fairly quickly each time I had to take a nap. While that's not extremely common, a lot of people, once they've had a full night of sleep, have trouble laying down for a nap, let alone 5 of them every 2 hours. So that's basically the gist of it. They sent me home at I think it was 6 p.m., 5 or 6 p.m. by the time I got out of there. And so that was the worst part. That whole second day, being confined to a room, being hooked up to all these things, and having to take these naps every 2 hours. And it's first world problems. It's like it wasn't terrible. It was basically like a hotel stay. There was a TV there. I had books to read. I had my phone. Just the normal stuff, right? And I didn't have to do anything. It was, you would think it's kind of like a relaxing day off, but for a guy like me who's likes to do things, like needs to do things, it got old really quickly. By lunchtime, I'm like, I'm done with this, man. I'm over it. So in the end, here's what they found. I had very, very mild sleep apnea. So the scale goes like this. If you have 0 to 5 events per hour during your sleep, that is normal. That is a normal range. Basically, everybody sleeps like that. You have these little events that slightly wake you up throughout the night. But it usually doesn't even register. You don't even know that you're waking up. But 0 to 5 is normal. 5 to 15 is mild apnea. 15 to 25, I think, is medium, whatever they call it. And then any more than 25 per hour is chronic sleep apnea, like extreme sleep apnea. They absolutely have to treat you. Now, moderate is the middle. Moderate to severe, right? Mild, moderate, severe. So basically, if you have moderate to severe sleep apnea, they will move forward with treatment. They will say you need a CPAP or a mouthpiece or something to help you sleep, because this is impeding your life, impeding your day, how you feel, how you act, everything. But if you're in that beginning stage, that 5 to 15 range, they usually don't even treat that. They don't consider it something that needs to be treated, because it's very low level. And that's where I was. In fact, I was barely in that range. That's how little apnea I have, which was kind of surprising. I thought I would have more, but I guess not. So 0 to 5 is normal. I had 5.5 events per hour. That's what it was. So barely. If I would have had half of an event less, I would have had no apnea at all. So that's basically what my sleep study found. That's why they kept me for the daytime study. Now, when it came to the narcolepsy study, they said I do not have any form of narcolepsy. However, I do have a superpower, and that is the ability to fall asleep on command and really quickly. I don't go into REM sleep, but what happens is I'm able to lay down at just about any time if I want to and actually fall asleep. And I'm falling asleep in under 5 minutes, which I even found, I was like, really? That's crazy. Under 5 minutes? I don't think I've ever heard of anyone falling asleep that quickly and on command. After a full night's sleep, taking 5 naps and each one falling asleep in under 5 minutes seems really insane to me. But really, it's a net positive, because they said there's no narcolepsy. You just sleep really well, and you are able to get to sleep really easily. So it's a good thing. Now, this whole process, even with insurance, ended up costing me about $3,000. So if you don't have that kind of money, and I really don't do this, man. Like, I mean, if you really need it, if you think you really need it, do it, right? But just know going in, I should have never said don't do it. Know going in that it's going to cost a lot of money, even with insurance. Now, maybe I just have shitty insurance, right? Maybe you have great insurance and it's going to cover most of this stuff. But no, that was after insurance, so I'm guessing the entire procedure probably cost closer to like $5,000. So just know that going in, it is not a cheap thing. And if there are some other things you can look at before sleep apnea that cost a little less to test, maybe go for those first. That's basically what I learned. It turns out, some of this might be due to my ADHD. That might be what's affecting me during my day and making me sleepy at some times, when I really shouldn't be. And yeah, and there could be other things as well. So there are things you can test. It's a lot cheaper to test than sleep apnea. However, if you're waking up gasping for air in the middle of the night, if you snore chronically, you probably got a form of sleep apnea, and you probably should get tested. Just know going in, it is not a cheap process, and it's not very fun either, especially if you have to stick around for that daytime stuff. Anyway, I'd love to hear if any of you guys have been through this process. What did you think of it? Maybe I'm just being a big baby. Maybe for you, it was a nice evening and day off from the hustle and bustle. But for me, a person who likes to move, who likes to accomplish things, it got old really quick. Anyway, yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've ever done this. If you think you might have sleep apnea, just let me know. Just let's talk about it. And I'll tell you, I'll respond. I'll talk to you about what I went through and stuff like that. So if you enjoyed this video, please stick around for more. Subscribe to the channel. This is not all that I do, is just talk about me and my life. I do a lot of entertainment and pop culture stuff. I talk a lot about movies and books and TV series and all kinds of stuff. So if you're interested in that, subscribe for more. And if you do decide to stick around, I do this pretty much daily. I try to do it daily anyway. I'm not perfect, but it's called Daily BS. That's what I try to do. So if you would like to get something new and interesting in your feed every day, then subscribe. And if you decide to subscribe, you decide to stick around, then I will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks.